I just want to say a few words on the French Solid Waste Partnership. We are a multi-stakeholder platform regrouping all the French stakeholders concerned with waste management. That includes the state agencies, local authorities, companies, NGOs, research and training institutes. And our ambition is to have a stronger voice together, to raise the topic of waste management at the highest international level. This is also why we partner with ISWA and other international organizations, because we are stronger together. We are now going to move on to the next part of our webinar, which will be on international cooperation to support the implementation of environmentally sound management of waste. On this, I would like now to call for Alexandra Montero, who should be here. I don't see your camera, though. You have to turn on your camera.
I think I can see my camera. Do you?
Okay, then maybe Ray, can you? Okay, now, yeah.
Okay.
Now we see you. Okay.
Okay, perfect.
Hi, Alexandra. Alexandra Montero is a senior solid waste activities coordinator at the Agence Française de Développement, AFD. And I'd like to discuss with you a few points on international cooperation. So through the work that we've done on the publication, I've noted 2 points that I thought would be interesting to discuss is the national policies that are sometimes weak or poorly implemented, and the funding for infrastructure investments in emerging economies that is often a struggle. So before we start this conversation, could you share how AFD approaches international cooperation to support waste management local actions?
Thank you, Corinne. Well, AFD is a French public bilateral institution that is presented worldwide, is supporting emerging countries to accelerate the necessary transitions for a more just, resilient world, and especially to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals. So this is the center of our activity, which is quite large. We are present in 166 countries, to be clear. And as discussed before, solid waste management, when it's poorly managed, has a direct impact in the SDGs, and in particular in climate change, but also in the preservation of biodiversity and on public health. So we consider to be a public essential service to be delivered to the community, and not we don't look at waste management and waste treatment as a how can I say, a revenue source of value itself. In developing countries, which are our area of intervention, the rapid growth of urban population is being followed by the expansion of these needs for public services, particularly in waste management, and the system is already often deficient. Countries are facing a lack of adequate infrastructure, of technical, institutional, and financial capacity, of awareness of the stakeholders and of the population. And even if the solid waste management is generally a decentralized municipal competence, the process is not followed by financial autonomy. Plus, monitoring regulatory control, as we can know it in some of our north, I would say between comma, north countries, is not being followed. It's generally absence of the process. So these constraints, combined with the deficit of the technical, social, environmental, and economic expertise and the awareness, are the challenge to implement an efficient waste management system all over the world, in fact. There's where IFD intervenes through a set of financial mechanisms and technical support, aiming to cover all stages of solid waste management and to include all stakeholders involved, public, civil society, and the private. IFD approached the developing country into the focus of supporting the structure of all the system chain, from the sources until the final treatment. So we focus on the development and implementation of public policies. This is the very first step. These public policies includes regulatory and policies framework, and they are targeted to develop a realistic sectorial regulation with progressive goals. And the progressive goals are important because local authorities need to gradually take ownership and integrate the overall of these policies into their own operations and day-to-day operations. The second point, and it's quite an important point, is to develop an appropriated financial mechanism that aims to support a cost recovery long-term approach, and not just the capex at the very first beginning, but the evolution of the process during the 20-25 years of operation of some of the structures, even more. And in approach of de-risking for the public sector, for the civil society NGOs, but also for the private operators, since if de-risking is not guaranteed, private operators with competence will not be take the effort to go to those countries. So these two approach, political policies and financial mechanisms, are, in our point of view, two mandatory approach to a sustainable treatment. After, nevertheless, still we need to raise capacity and awareness, both in the local and in the national level. And we need to support the implementation of equipments, solid waste equipments, and infrastructures in order to upgrade the level of efficacy of the solid waste management system, both in locally and in the national level. So that's how we intervene. We try to intervene with all of these targets together. And particularly, we emphasize our support in the adaptation of the local context and a gradual promotion of the new treatment solutions in order to guarantee their technical and financial sustainability in the long term. I hope I answered the question. Great.
Yes, definitely. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing how you approach your work. And maybe we could, I'll share the next slide. And if you could, through this example of the case of Lomé in Togo, share how you've supported improved waste management there. That would give the participant a tangible example.
Okay, so IFD supporting the improvement of waste management sector, solid waste management to be more precisely, and domestic solid waste management since 2007. So it's almost 20 years, not exactly, but almost. We have a progressive approach to enable the city of Lomé. At the very first beginning, the support was into the city and not into the region, which is the case now, so it diverged to the region. But at the beginning, it was the city of Lomé, in order that the city could acquire tools to answer to the needs of the solid waste management sector over the time, and with an effective and sustainable improved of the solid waste management. To be clear, we have started our support with the improvement of the waste collection and the pre-collection of the waste, since at that moment the collection rate was only 35%, and the improvement made, which was in 2012, upgraded this level to 70%, which was quite a big improvement, even if it's not 100% as we would like. But nevertheless, we must must consider that all areas of Lomé are not easily accessible, and that needs to be well prepared and well structured. The second point of the procedure, once this collection right was improved, was to proceed to support the local authorities with development of the treatment systems. In fact, they had huge dumps or control landfills, but without not environmental sound management. And the process was to develop the treatment by one, supporting a composting unit within the city that called AfriCompost, which is in part of the city. And the second, but it's like a pilot project, just to see how it could approach. And the second was to develop a sanitary landfill that had the capacity to treat all domestic waste produced in the Lomé city, but also in the region, in the Great Lomé. So it's about 2,000 people living in the area. The site avoid more than 300,000 tons per year to go to an adapted treatment, and permits by that reducing Lomé green gas emissions, since it's also considered the treatment of biogas already produced in this area. For the moment, it's for burning, because the first 5 years there was not enough biogas to valorize. But the second phase, which we are also supporting, is already instead the valorization of biogas into electricity, which is a big need for Togo. We also support the closure of the old dump site and the use of this land for green energy by installation of a solar farm that is being installed now. And this solar farm, the energy collected will be diverse to the municipality and to the people that lives around the area. The partnership with the city is still ongoing, and we are particularly working now, even if we worked since the very first beginning, but developing now the treatment, the upgrading of treatment methods, such as recycling and other capacities, in order to reduce the part of the waste that's going to the landfill. But we start from the urgency, and now we are upgrading. And in the second point, also to work with the reorganization of the system and the financial mechanism, improve the financial mechanism of the system. We must know that even if CAPEX was a grant at that moment from IFD and European Union, just the fact that we pass over from a dump site and that we improve collection and go to a sanitary landfill, without CAPEX, improve the upgrade of the level of the financial level to the community of multiplied by 8, passed from 1 year per ton to 8 years per ton, which was very important for them, because 1 year per ton was already about 20 to 30% of the global budget of the municipality. So this is a real target that it's being worked from a long time and continues to be worked, because it's a long time engagement.
Thank you so much.
I think I could give you another example, but I'm not sure that we had the time. So maybe we'll proceed.
Let's keep it. If we have time at the end, we can go over another example. I'd like to ask you another question, because I do want to give an opportunity to our participants to ask a question if they want to. So if you have questions, feel free to put them in the it seems like people are using the comments box to add their questions. So feel free to add your questions. I have another question for you, Alexandra, before we hear from our participants. In our publication, we advocate for all countries to include waste management in their NDCs. This advocacy is also part of ISWA's call this year at COP. So national determined contributions can be conditional or unconditional. But for you, how do you see this including waste in the NDCs as something that will support driving international international funding and cooperation to waste management projects?
Very interesting question. Thank you, Corinne. I will just start for one point. IFT, as all IFIs, in fact, we are a bilateral IFI, but as the World Bank has a multilateral IFI or other IFIs, we intervene when we have formal requests from the local countries with whom we work, with the Ministry of Finance and all the countries. That means that the requests are up to the country to decide what are the priorities where they are installing it. So to go to the point, as you discussed it, as you presented just in the very first beginning of this section, worldwide, in 2022, greenhouse emissions due to human activities represented about 53.8 billion of tons of CO2. And these emissions, 2/3 of the emissions were directly related to CO2s, but 80% are related to methane, which has a huge global warming potential, much higher than CO2. And in particular, in the next 20 to 30 years to be coming, in the first step of the production of methane. 20% of this methane are related to liquid and to solid waste management. The greenhouse gas emissions of the waste sector, already significant today, will increase if we continue in the business as usual scenario, and associated to the drastic increase of population and consequent increase of volume of waste produced, it is expected to be triple from in 2050 compared to 2050 compared to 2015. These projections will increase the amounts of waste directly and will double the impact of the sector in the GHG emissions up to 2050. So this is a central question. In fact, as waste management, as we discussed it earlier, are facing a dichotomy of capacities and of requirements between higher revenue countries and lower middle income countries. If high-income countries, waste management has the level of maturity in terms of structure, financial policies, control that allows holistic management, the lower middle-income countries do not have the institutional, financial, and technical maturity to face the subject in a technical, social, climate, environmental, and finances challenge that the sector faces already. So in developing countries, where waste management emissions are mainly related to the lack of appropriate management and not adapted treatment, the part of organic waste is quite higher compared to the high revenue countries. It's in high revenue countries, for instance, in France, it's about 30% of the domestic waste generated, and in the middle low income countries, it's generally about 50 to 60% of the waste generated. Or the composition of organic waste generates biogas, which generates methane. So the level and the degree is even higher if the quantity is lower. So the result when the waste is not correctly treated, it's also often burnt into the open air, intentionally or not intentionally, but burnt, which are resulting also black carbon emissions, which also have a high global warming potential in a short term. And this mismanagement of waste will affect air quality, will affect GHG emissions, and represents a main sector of emissions for the solid waste sector. So that being said, the reduction of GHG emissions in the solid waste sector, it's only possible if we have an adapted, environmentally sound management of the waste, which needs to be carefully organized, social and technical and economical sustainable, and on each step of the solid waste management chain, from the prevention, including collection and pre-collection, up to valorization and final safe disposal, which I mean final safe disposal is sanitary landfill minimum. As mentioned before, this means that developing and implementing sectorial policies are needed to include regulatory and programs frameworks, the waste sector within the regulatory and the program frameworks. And this needs to be carefully planned and integrated in order to achieve the necessary and desired reduction of the greenhouse gas emissions of the sector. However, structuring waste management in these countries is not often a priority. These countries are facing a large spectrum of challenges, with all the minimum essential services going from energy to water supply, health, sanitation, and holistic waste is generally the last of the essential services to be taken into account by the states and by the local authorities. Solid waste management, in particular municipal solid waste, is quite often absent from the international goals. As you said, it's the second time that it's being considered within the COP. And then it's not like a relevant mandatory priority for local and national authorities. So including in waste management in the NDCs of each country as conditional or unconditional goal will allow the sector to be integrated as a key factor to address climate change, and to arrive to that as a targets that each country will need to have both local and national level in order to them to upgrade and prioritize the requests that they do on supporting to the international finance like IFIs. So it's an opportunity for us, and for us, when I say us, it's not us IFIs, it's us, the sector, to integrate this opportunity to raise the priority of the sector within the policies and requirements of the countries, and by that consequently reduce the sector within the direct GHGs emissions of waste.
Thank you so much, Alexandra. We're getting to the end of our webinar. We had a question in the chat about the issue of transport, and the fact that transport is often very expensive and seems to be polluting. We had that question from Benin, from Alex Thierry, and indeed, we do not have very much time now, only 2 minutes to finish. So indeed, transport is a very important question. It's often a bottleneck for making waste management collection systems work. It is expensive. It is polluting, but in terms of GHG emissions, in comparison to methane emissions from landfills and open dumping and mismanaged waste, it is fairly it is a much lower contribution to GHG emissions. So this is why we didn't specifically talk about transport, but whenever setting up a waste management project, addressing transport is very important. I will have to close this webinar now. Thank you very much, Alexandra, for your insights, and all of our speakers for all your insights. Thank you to all the participants. Just a second. Oops. Yeah, here. You see, I don't know, do you see the slide? The last slide? No? Okay.
Yes.
You can download this publication. Here's the QR code again. The speakers can turn on their cameras if they want, so that everybody sees them again. I really want to thank all of you for your participation, for your insights. And I also want to thank ISWA for hosting us in this webinar and giving us some insights directly from the Waste and Resources Pavilion at the COP. Just so you know, there's also an ISWA working group on climate change that all of you are welcome to join. And if you have any other questions, feel free to reach out to us.
Corinne, for instance, there was some question about biochar. I think it's a very interesting topic. So please, the audience, the people, they can contact us directly or through PFD or through ISBA, and we'll be happy to address any question they may have.
Thank you very much, Malik. That's a very good point. And the carbon sequestration topic was not fully addressed here, not at all. But we have a lot of things to say on it, which could be an opportunity in a future webinar. Thank you all. Have a great afternoon and rest of the day.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you
bye-bye.
all. Bye.
Thank you.